So we're currently just 5 days away from the Foraging update. As I'm sure you've seen, it reminds you every single time that you log on to Skyblock that there's basically maintenance on the 23rd of June, which is Monday. And if you check Hypixel's status and scroll down, you'll see the scheduled maintenance is for the introduction of the Foraging update, so it obviously is confirmed. But what do we do now? What can you do in preparation for the Foraging update? Now, people have been preparing for this update for quite a long time, but to be honest, a lot of that preparation probably wasn't actually that good in the long term. Simply because nobody really knew what we were going to get in the update. It was only speculation. If we take citrine gemstones as an example, a few months back these were down at like 13-12 mil a piece and they went up to as high as 25 mil, but now they're back at 20 mil. So if you can call investing preparing, if you tried to hop on the citrine gemstone trend late, then you probably lost money. If you got on it early, then you made a ton of money. But of course, there's a lot changing, not only in-game, but also how you launch the game and how you play the game. So let's see what you can actually do to prepare now, just 5 days out, and probably what your best option is in terms of getting playable mods on a newer version of Minecraft. After playing Skyblock with mods for so long now, it's kind of impossible to imagine playing Skyblock without, and if I just simply load my game up in 1.21, then I'm simply not going to have mods. Just before we get into it, at the moment we're actually trying to beat the population of Andorra with subscribers. The population of Andorra is around about 80,000 people, and once we reach 80,000 subscribers we'll actually be visiting Andorra and we'll be able to claim that we have more subscribers than the population of the whole country, which would be pretty cool, so make sure to subscribe to make that happen. Also, if you are planning on purchasing anything from the Hypixel store, make sure to use code NITROS, it gets yourself 5% off. You should join the Discord server, it's linked in the description of this video. We offer slayers and dungeon carries, so if you need carries or want to carry and make some coins, make sure to join. Well, I'm not gonna lie, after abandoning Badlion a couple of years ago, I didn't expect to be back. But the reality is, as the alpha server says right now, version 1.21.5 is recommended, and the easiest and quickest way that I've come across to actually get playable mods on this version of the Minecraft is simply just to use Badlion. Now sure, there'll be other alternatives out there, but it just seems the easiest way for me at the moment. Also, the game looks so dull with no texture pack and no shaders, maybe we should do something about that. Right, well the texture pack is better, but I didn't realise that... Can you just not use shaders? Can I just not use them? Because... it seems like shaders is a work in progress to me. So the process of setting up your mods on Badlion is actually quite simple. So everything you see here after you click right shift for the first time is just basic Minecraft changes that you can make. Most of it's cosmetic. But if you want to actually get to the Skyblock mods, in the search bar you need to type Skyblock. Click into Skyblock, make sure it's turned on, and then of course you're greeted with a ton of different things you can change. Just for example, clicking into Bazaar and Auction House, you've got different things that you can enable and disable on the Bazaar. You've also got a ton of different options for the Auction House, which is cool. You've got a section to change dungeon settings, adjust your dungeon map, and yes, there is also solvers. Dungeon profit calculator. You've got customizables for the Crimson Isles, including Blaze Slayer. Even solvers and helpers for the Rift. It's a lot better than I actually remember it, I'm not gonna lie, because I've not used Badlion in a very long time. But what I will say is there's an absolutely valid reason why previously majority of people, you know, opt for their own mods, even though it is a little bit more of a pain, you know, updating your mods and also maybe a little bit less safe considering you've got to source all your own mods. The mods in the end usually are better. I think one thing that Badlion does have is probably performance. Performance is better on Badlion in my opinion. However, as I'm kind of trying to get to the grips with Badlion, I can't help but think that there's just something a little bit off and it's just not quite the same. I do believe this is probably only a temporary measure until, you know, mods have been made more readily available in the new version of Minecraft. Having said that, this update drops on Monday. And if you just want to be able to hop on and basically customize everything that you want in maybe 20 to 30 minutes and it be playable, then Badlion is not a bad option. And with the alpha being open now and the queue being relatively small, it's not even a bad idea just to maybe get Badlion loaded up, hop onto the alpha, customize everything that you want. Therefore, when it actually gets to Monday and the update drops, you don't have to think about customizing anything when the update actually drops because everything will already be done on the alpha, if you know what I mean. That's what I'd recommend. It's up to you though. But besides all of that, what can we actually do to prepare for the update in-game? Or maybe, what can we kind of write off that people were previously worried about? Well, first of all, it's pretty apparent that attributes are going to be an integral part of the game like they are already, but in a different way. Now, I've got a lot of unorganized backpacks and chests. I've got attribute shards everywhere, also chests on my island with a ton of attribute shards in that I've never really thought of using, but obviously they'll become useful when the update drops. I've got random pieces of armor with attributes on them lying around everywhere. If you're like me and a bit unorganized with the chests and kind of just throw everything anywhere to get it out of their inventory, people have been telling you to clean your chests up and backpacks up for ages. Well, you probably would have thrown a lot of this stuff out that you actually need. So you can hit back at them and say, no, it's actually a good thing that I was so unorganized. But actually organize the unorganized things. Things like just taking all of these attribute shards and a random piece of armor with attributes out of your backpacks and put them into a separate chest. So when the update drops, everything's pretty accessible and you can get those attributes into your attribute menu and siphoned as quick as possible and also get that XP. Something else I want to say is I think people were maybe panicking thinking that the tree cap was going to go up in price. It's not the case. It's probably going to go down in price if anything, considering the crafting recipe is now going to be substantially lower. Well, lower in price. It used to be a spruce axe, or well, a jungle axe, it's now a spruce axe, surrounded with enchanted obsidian, but it's now just a spruce axe surrounded with enchanted jungle wood. And less enchanted jungle wood than you needed obsidian. I believe you needed 512 enchanted obsidian. Nevertheless, it's going to be cheaper to craft, but the demand is going to be sky high, so I don't think the tree cap is going to go up too much. You don't need to worry about this. Most people already have a tree cap anyway. It's only like a mil, 1.5 mil near H at the moment. Now it's clear that a massive part of this update is not actually going to be foraging, but it's going to be hunting and attributes. And to cut long story short, the more attribute shards, the more piece of armor with attributes on that you already have, the better, considering the more XP you'll be able to gain, the more progression through hunting you'll be able to make, and so on. Now, unfortunately, the window for preparation for most of that sort of stuff is kind of gone. If you don't have the attribute shards or the armor with attributes on already, yeah, you've kind of missed your chance. People who were smart and thinking ahead were basically just grinding and grinding and grinding away as soon as the alpha dropped, but you can't really do that anymore. However, there are things you can still do to prepare for expansions of the Foraging Island, but it's going to be more based on speculation. For example, if you were to teleport all the way forward from spawn, you'll come to these two portals. They're located just behind the south reaches, and they don't offer a massive amount of information. Other than that, there's 2 extra islands that seem to be coming, well, not soon, but Now, there was a lot of speculation of the possibility of a new Slayer being introduced into this new update, which there hasn't been. Some people were thinking it might be Tier 5 Wolf, considering, you know, wolves were always in the park and foraging and so on. And other people were speculating Skeleton Slayer. It'd be a long shot, but whether either of these 2 new islands that will eventually release have anything to do with the Slayer, I'm not sure. But what I will say is when the trailer dropped for this update, people were still speculating Skeleton Slayer, and the price of projectile protection went up a ridiculous amount. It went from being practically worthless at like 100k each to being over 10 mil each, which is kind of crazy. I'm sure that price has died down now, considering, well, we can confirm that there's no Skeleton Slayer here. Well, that doesn't mean to say that Skeleton Slayer couldn't come in either of these 2 new islands. And also, we have no idea when these are going to release, or even if they will release. Anyway, that's going to be the end of today's video. Let me know in the comments, what have you been doing to prepare for this update? If you enjoyed today's video, make sure to leave a like, subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you in the next one.